Konnichiwa people, in today's video I'm going to break down everything you need to know about dungeons and raids. I won't go into specific details about gear, since it's another topic that requires a whole video. Before we begin, let me get some things out of the way. If you're looking for a guild, join our Discord. If you're a new player, go check out my beginner's guide. Now, let's dive right into it. Alright, let's kick it off with dungeons. We have three types of dungeons: classical dungeons, Arcane Realms, and Universal Hall. Classical dungeons can be challenged with a party of 5. You can either form a pre-made party or use the matchmaking queue. If the system doesn't find other players in time, it will give you bots instead. So you don't have to worry about finding people in the long run. At the beginning of the game, this won't be an issue, but as more dungeons are added later on, new players will need to complete the older ones to progress. So this, despite what you think, can be a great system. Classical dungeons are 5 in total and come into 2 difficulties: normal and elite. They unlock on a time-based schedule, with one available each day. They require higher levels to enter and are more challenging to complete. In normal dungeons, there's no entry limit, you can farm them as many times as you want to upgrade your gear score. Each time you complete a normal dungeon, you will acquire 3 random items. This could be helmets or boots, doesn't matter, and they have fixed stats. Elite dungeons, on the other hand, have an entry limit. The game provides you with 2 keys each day, and these keys can be stacked up to 6 times. Like normal dungeons, when you complete an elite one, you will also get 3 pieces of gear. However, the gear from elite dungeon has better rarity and random stats instead of fixed ones. This makes them ideal for optimized builds and is why elite dungeons are more important. Additionally, completing this dungeon gives you a resource that allows you to acquire items from a store. So even if you don't get the specific piece you're looking for in the dungeon, you might find it in the shop eventually. Now about Arcane Realms. Arcane Realms are essentially the endgame content. You unlock them at level 40, which is the max level, and they replace technically your elite dungeon farming. They scale up to 10 floors, from floor 1 to floor 10, and each floor resembles previous elite dungeons you were farming, so you will be familiar with the tactics and overall gameplay. But with a twist. Until around floor 5, you get one random affix, a special effect that bosses can have, or environmental, and from level 6 and above, 2 random affixes will apply. Besides random stats and higher gear score items, you can also acquire special aptitudes for your gear, special effects for your skills. But more on that in our gear video explanations. Universal Hall is a unique dungeon where you challenge it solo. You can't enter with a pre-made team or group. It resets every 3 days and comes with 5 difficulty levels, each having 5 bosses. Before challenging each boss, you have to choose some debuffs for the current floors, 5 bosses. As you progress to another floor, you will need to add affixes and debuffs for your character. Unlike group dungeons, Universal Hall doesn't give gear, but provides materials required for rune inscriptions and artifacts. More on those in future videos. Just know that these materials are very important for your progression, so skipping Universal Hall is not an option. Keep in mind that all these dungeons have a gear requirement score, which you can see below before you enter. For group dungeons, it's wise to match the recommended gear score if you are not running with a pre-made group. This saves a lot of time. If you have a pre-made and want to challenge yourselves with higher difficulty, communication is key. And gear score doesn't matter ultimately. This is especially important for elite dungeons and the highest floors of Arcane Realms. Now, let's talk about raids. Raids are dungeons that can be challenged with a total of 10 players. It's very important to choose the correct role before you enter. Making the mistake and choosing the wrong role could lead to a party wipe and waste of a lot of time. So make sure to select your role carefully. There are 3 raids in total. Each raid has 3 difficulties: normal, elite and heroic. Heroic difficulty will be available after the first few months of the game, so you don't need to worry about that right now. All current difficulties, normal, elite and heroic, will unlock as the game progresses by days rather than levels, since level 40 is max. For example, when you reach level 40 on day 6, only the first 2 raids will be unlocked. Additionally, raids and difficulties will unlock on subsequent days like 8 or day 11, etc. Raids come with a weekly reset. Based on the China release, it's likely that our resets will be every Friday. Some speculated that Uncast, the first raid, might reset every 3 days, like in the first betas, but it seems from China that Uncast will also refresh every Friday. The first raid has only one boss and is the first one you will unlock. You can farm it twice per week for weapons with guaranteed special aptitudes. We'll cover more about gear in future videos. Aptitudes are like to get a first idea, it's special effects that apply on your character skills. Each raid unlocks progressively within days after reaching level 40. From these raids you can get gear with random stats and special aptitudes, as well as guaranteed set pieces, the strongest gear available. The second and the third raid, 12 Monarchs, theoretically has 12 bosses, but currently only 2 are available, at least for betas. Probably we're gonna get more again at the time sequence in the release. As they unlock over time, you will be able to get pieces with the highest rarity and gear score, along with guaranteed special aptitudes and guaranteed set pieces. Something worth mentioning is that group dungeons and Universal Hall come with a store where you can exchange resources for other materials. For raids, it's unclear if we will obtain coins or if there's a shop in the global release. I don't actually remember that, we will find out once we start playing. If anyone remembers or has more info, feel free to write it in the comments. And that's everything you need to know about dungeons and raids. More videos are coming up, where we will talk about more content and character growth, gear stats and break down all important information, so we are fully prepared for the release. Arigato for watching, and until next time, see ya!
Freed from my shackles, I shall consume this world with flame.